Welcome to the Startup Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Trutter. After over 800 plus successful dental startups, I'm here to share everything I know about starting a profitable and purposeful dental practice with you. Welcome back to the Startup Dentist podcast, where we dive in deep into the real stories behind dental practice ownership, the wins, the struggles, and the purpose that drives us all. Today's episode is one I'm super excited about because it's not just about building a practice, but more importantly, it's about building impact in your community. And if you've listened on a very recent episode, I talk about community and the strategies that are there. And I think it's not about like tricks to get patients through the door. I think it's truly about like, how do you connect with that one patient and how that one patient grows into two patients and how those two patients then grow into 4 and 8 and so on and so forth to build something that's truly spectacular today. So we're going to talk more about that today. And I've got a really great, a super guest that's going to be here. Is going to share his story of journey of becoming a practice owner, the things that he's done within his community, and to be able to make those connections and how he's living a fulfilled life as a practice owner. One patient at a time. So super excited. So grab your notepad and let's make this dream practice of yours a living and breathing reality. Today, we're going to be talking about, I'm going to introduce him here in a moment. Today, we're going to be talking about the journey of Dr. Gustavo Hernandez, Dr. Gus. A doctor just didn't set out to own his own practice, but to serve his community in a meaningful and lasting way. Like many dentists, Dr. Gus started his career focused obviously on clinical excellence, but early on, he learned something important. Dentistry alone wasn't about going to fulfill the bigger vision. Wasn't alone going to fulfill that bigger vision for his life. Ownership for him wasn't just about autonomy or income. It was about creating something truly special that reflected his values. So today, I am proud to introduce to the Startup Dentist Podcast a great client of Ideal Practices and a great person, Dr. Gus Hernandez. So, hey, Gus, what's happening?
Hi, Steven. How's it going?
Fantastic. We were offline. We were talking family, and if people know, like you said, I am a girl dad. So yes, I have 3 daughters, and you mentioned you had 2, and that third was a boy. So was it twists and turns with a boy? Because I wanted a boy. That third one, we did everything the opposite of trying to make a boy. Again, I have a biology degree, so I know how to make children. Not to digress here to our audience, but you reread all these books. So is the boy? I know he's little, so how was that navigating those waters?
It's a little different, The girls were easy and not that he's hard, but he's definitely a mama's boy.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets picked up, he cuddles her so hard, and that's something different that the girls didn't do. They didn't jump into their arms. So when he gets picked up, he turns around away from me and he just wants to explore the world. But when he's with mom, he's hugging her and cuddling her. So it's a little different, but it's a ton of fun.
Awesome. The girls come back, I promise. So mine are teenagers. Yeah. My oldest is 18, so she's my middle one's she always says I'm the favorite as the middle child. She's the lovey one. So I have this 13-year-old. She's going to be in high school. There's that time in when they become 6th grade, 7th grade. It's mom and dad aren't cool. But I've seen glimpses of her going into high school now. It's whoa, she gave me a hug the other day, and she actually talked to me. So I know this podcast isn't about child rearing, but we were talking about children and the dichotomy of children and everything like that. So,
well, I think that it actually we might turn that corner and find us circling back to that, because I think a lot of what we want to talk about, or what I want to talk about, kind of revolves around not just the design of the practice or how where your ops are, things like that. I really enjoyed the vision call, which I know we didn't initially set out to talk about, but that was really one of my favorite things. And it's not just designing an office, it's designing your life. And those questions that you ask us when we do that homework, I really, really loved. And when we deep dive into that, to our conversation, that we had, I came away feeling like, wow, I have a great idea of what my ideal life is not gonna be, not just my ideal practice. So I really love the vision call. I think that's something very unique, and forward thinking. And I think that if you're gonna open up a startup practice, I think the vision call is really what sets everything up.
Well, I'm biased, but I agree because, like, on the vision call, we talked for a couple of hours, and people are like, "What are we going to talk about for like 2.5, 3 hours?" And people start thinking about like, yeah, we didn't talk operatory size, we didn't talk those things. We were talking about like, who do you want to be in your community, and how do you want to serve them, and like, we talked about that forward thinking, like beginning with the end in mind, and it's that thought for provoking things because I think operatories and chairs are kind of like, yeah, we'll get there in the process, but it's like, what does this
Yeah.
practice truly represent? So one of my big questions, and I know you have some, I can't wait for you to share all this stuff, but if you share with the audience like a little bit of your journey, and more specifically, like why a startup, and what does that represent to you today, and a little bit of that journey, if you can kind of share that backstory.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I'll go back, maybe I'll go back all the way to the beginning about why I became a
Yeah.
dentist. I kind of always had good grades. My parents said I could be whatever I wanted to be. I just couldn't be like them, right? My mom was a maid at a casino
Okay.
circus, and my dad poured concrete, so he was a
Yep.
construction worker, right? So I had to be like some not manual labor job, right? So I got good grades, and then in at UNLV, I ended up getting Bell's palsy, which is facial paralysis. And that made me look into the head and neck. Maybe I'd be a head doctor or
Yeah.
something like that. And I ended up drilling down onto teeth. And then, I love being a dentist. It's work from the hand, and it's artistic, and it's all these great things, right? Um, that kind of led me into like doing community service and things like that. And that's how I got involved with my give partner, which we'll kind of
Yeah.
deep dive into in a second. Um, but that's, I'm really excited to talk about
It's
that.
awesome.
Then, I got into dental school, graduated in 2015, so almost 11
Yeah.
years ago now. Uh, and I started 5 years at a DSO, like on one of the bigger DSOs where I was cutting teeth. Um, and I ended up thinking that I was gonna be with them a long term. Like, I was like, "Okay, I'm bought into this system that they have here." But when you're in part of a bigger organization, sometimes politics can kinda
Yeah.
kick in
Yeah.
and, like, favoritism, and so, that kinda rubbed me the wrong way, and I ended up leaving shortly after that, like, when I felt like I was getting passed up by other doctors for things that weren't really
Yeah.
relevant. So that was like 5 years of my, 11 years, and then I did 5 years at a private practice. And one of the things that, really kind of made me decide to go out on my own is the culture of the
Mm.
office. I mean, there is a lot of,
Yes.
um, things that I like, a level of excellence that I didn't see reflected in the office
Yeah.
that I was in. I did partner with the office for a little bit because I thought, again, I was gonna go the
Yeah.
distance with
Yeah.
them 'cause, I'm a, optimistic at heart, so I was like, "Oh, this is definitely gonna work out this time." Right? And it didn't work out. It fell apart, like most partnerships do. So I decided that when the next step for me was to do a startup and to imbue all of my personal attributes into the
Yeah.
office, everything that is uniquely me into the office, and build a culture of excellence. Because it's hard to change direction of a ship once it's going that
Yes.
way. So if you buy into a practice, if you buy a retired doctor, there's already a heading that it's going, and to change that heading, I think can be really difficult.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
without completely turning over everything, which is what you buy. You're buying a direction, right? So
Yeah, we
find
talked
that.
about a lot about that. We
Yeah,
even talked about that on the vision call. And when we talk about like a legacy and things like that, we remember you remember talking about that, how you want to be remembered,
yeah,
and it's a concept that we
yeah,
talked about. And sometimes I don't know if I gave you the analogy then, but there's an analogy I give on that is you mentioned the ship, and when we think about like this destination, it's if you're in a small boat, you can like, oh, we're going to turn, but a practice in this life is more like it's like an aircraft carrier. Like you
yeah,
can't just be like, let's just go right, like and let's just turn there. Like it takes teams, and you can't just take a battleship or an aircraft carrier and go, hey, let's just turn this way and go down this direction. So I love when you talk about like it. Sometimes it's a ship, and as a new practice owner, like you were all about like how do you use your I mean these weren't your words, but you're saying you wanted to have the ship going in the right direction because you knew like
Yeah.
this is what we're planning for.
Yeah. And I'm gonna kind of share my screen if it's all
Yeah.
right for a
Yeah.
second.
For those that
Uh,
can't see,
oh,
you need to get on here and watch. But Dr. Gus is going to be sharing something here. So yeah, please do.
oh yeah. Let's see.
This is a surprise.
I think
You had a surprise for me.
yeah,
So Crystal,
yeah.
who is our team CMO, she says, Dr. Gus has a surprise for you today. So
This is part of our vision call. Can you see my
I
screen?
can.
Okay, so this was part of our vision call. Do you remember seeing this picture?
Yes.
You got a really big kick out of this, and like,
I love it.
just talked about how authentic, or like just how different it was from everything you've ever seen of like an office do. So, um, about a month ago, my friends gave
Oh
me
my
this right here.
goodness. Oh,
So this is in our meeting.
so
This
if
is
for those
loud and
for
proud.
those who can't see this, it is a neon sign of Randy Macho Man Savage, and in the bottom it says the cream always rises to the top. I
Yeah,
absolutely love that. That is
yeah.
awesome. The Macho Man.
I'm gonna I'm gonna stop sharing it
Oh,
now.
that's beautiful.
Um,
I'll do my best, Macho Man. Oh yeah, there we go.
But that really ties into like what I think we're going to talk
Yeah.
about a little about is designing your life, which is the startup
Yep.
way, like and being really and authentic to who you are as a person, because I think that really shows up when you talk about your
Yep.
community and community service, being really authentic, because if it's not authentic, if it's fake, people see it right away, and instead of being something that brings you patience, is going to could be something that pushes people away, like not being truly who you are, and doing things just for the
Yeah.
show. People can really see
I
that.
love that.
So
And for the audience here, like what separates Dr. Gus isn't the fact that you own a practice. It's, I would say, how you run it. From day one, I remember like the focus was very clear, like serve community, serve people first. And that
yeah,
shows up in how your team interacts with patients, probably how they educate, how you educate,
hmm
how you've been able to create an environment where patients feel known and
yeah,
not rushed. And
yeah,
you weren't about like high. You went. You. It sounds like you were in the high volume transactional environment from a DSO perspective.
yeah.
That wasn't you. You're all about like community centered practice. So share some of those community elements. Like what's important to you from a community perspective? Like you mentioned, we're going to talk about your give. And for those that have never listened to this, like the give is like, how do you give back in your community philanthropically? But like some of those efforts you've done from a give perspective, but how have you connected well in the community?
Well, we're always trying to show up in our community and show that I want to be the dentist that they think that this is their hometown dentist. Even though Henderson in Las Vegas is huge, I still want them to think like this is my
Yep.
hometown dentist. Um, I was part of like a large DSO, and then of the private practice that got involved into a DPO, and both of those I was like, that's not for me. I want to be the small town dentist feel, and a part of that is serving your community and just getting involved in different things. So we went to a spring fling for a local charter school, and the students were all selling their things there, and we bought a couple like crochet things. It was really fun. Um, Volunteering with we have two
Okay.
partners, and we can talk about them
Yeah.
now. First one is the Nevada Diabetes
Okay.
Association, and the second one is it's called Reps and Steps for a
Okay.
Cause. I'll talk about how I got involved
Yeah.
with both of those. I've been volunteering with the Nevada Diabetes Association for 15 years. Well, actually now 16 years, like 2009, 2010, so like
Okay.
16 years. It was part of my, you know, when you get when you want to get into professional school, you start doing volunteer work. And I got tied into this organization. My friend's mom was a nurse, and they did the overnight camps. Oh, Steve
Yeah,
disappeared for
we're
a
there for a
second.
second. So how'd you get started on the diabetes? Because we'll edit this, so don't worry about
You're
it.
good. My I was looking for volunteer work to do to kind of almost like pad my
Yeah,
resume in a way, because you need those you need those volunteering hours to get into dental school,
I
professional school. They
understand.
want to see you be a part of
That's
your
right.
community. So my friend friend's mom was a nurse for these diabetes camp. He had friends that were nurses in the diabetes camp. And these were overnight camps. So like a week, spring break, summer break, kind of overnight camps. And I became a camp counselor at one
Awesome.
of them. And I love sharing this story. This is one of the favorite things I have to share about. I had so much fun at camp as a counselor that my abs hurt for a week after leaving camp. I was literally sore from laughing so hard and so frequently at diabetes camp. That year, I actually, as a newcomer, I won Counselor of the Year. So for being shown up for a week and just, I guess, showing the kids like that positive, optimistic attitude towards
Yeah.
everything in their life. Because when you're dealing with type 1 diabetes, there's a lot of
Yep.
there's a lot of downtime. You're giving yourself shots. Um, Other kids notice your equipment that you have to bring around everywhere you
Yep.
go. Insulin, you have to leave to go to the nurse's office after lunch. All these kids are um, singled out in a way during school and things like that. Amongst their friends, they're singled out. But when they come to a diabetes camp, they're just like everyone else. They're all one and the same. They all have diabetes, so they don't feel different. And then showing them that optimistic attitude and just how fun you can make life. I guess that led to me becoming counselor of the year that year. And I gave my speech because we do campfire
Yep.
that last night at camp, and they asked me to come up, and I talked about how like I could tell like from just this one week that this organization, I'm going to be part of this organization for the
Yep.
rest of my life, and that I would show up every time I could. So I've been to several overnight week-long camps since then, since 2011, 2010. And I haven't been lately just because with the practice and the
Yeah.
kids and things like that. But the give gives us another opportunity to interact with them and support them in
Yep.
another way.
Yeah. And for those that haven't heard the concept of the give, this is an ideal practices element. And again, we didn't invent it. We have a strategy behind it. And so the give is something that we guide our clients through, like Dr. Gus, to be able to connect outside of the four walls of the practice. It's not about dentistry. It's not about discounts. It's about values. And for those that become private practice owners, we love to be able to do this and share these elements because we get so many doctors that, just like you, that come in and be like, I have this thing I want to support. How do I do it? And so the concept came from 10 years ago. So for those that don't know what we do, Ideal Practices. So when every one of our practice owners opens the doors, we simultaneously fund microloans in third world countries. And so for every practice opens, 10 microloans are funded for people in some of the hardest hit areas of the world where traditional banking doesn't exist. When we share that with clients 10 years ago, when we opened our doors, we had clients go, I want to do that. And so it became a thing. And so that's why I love like what you've been able to do and what you're doing in your community, which is beyond the walls of the practice. So you've got what you support from a diabetes perspective, and it's been years you've been doing it. You also mentioned the other one. What is the other give partnership that you have in the community there in Las Vegas?
Yeah, just going back to the Diabetes Association. So for us, we do a donation for every new patient we see.
Okay.
So after roughly about every 50 patients, so I write them a check and we support them that way financially.
Awesome.
So the other one, it's called Reps and Steps for a Cause, and this one is my wife's best friend. She started a nonprofit, and this one is also a really big community type nonprofit. What they do is they find a cause, and Nevada Diabetes Association is going to be one of their causes soon, like coming up in August. But they find different things that need financial support. And what they do then is they find a gym that wants exposure, and they have the gym do a charity workout, like demonstrating the gym is about, but also they're gonna take all the funds that they do for these donation drives at the gym and fund another nonprofit. So they're working with a bunch of nonprofits, and connecting all these different community aspects to support the entirety of the community. So they're exposing gyms and they're supporting different nonprofits throughout the Las Vegas area.
That's awesome.
So their whole thing is they're taking the hard work of finding great nonprofits to support and exposing them to the larger community, because gyms have large communities that want to do good, and so that's what it is. It's reps and steps. So the gym for a cause, supporting other
I
nonprofits.
love that. I love that. How does this impact, like, I think everyone knows, like, they can feel this impact from a community perspective. What about your team? When you talk with like the culture of your team about like this give, do they play a role with you into the give? And how how does how does that all work? And how
Uh,
does that connect even with your team?
I think that really affects the culture of the office, knowing that we're serving something bigger than just paychecks and cutting teeth and
Yeah.
things like that. Um, this is actually another great story. Um, my office got delayed opening by like 2 or 3 months. It was construction delays, and this is something you can warn your
Yeah.
startup partners if you do a new build, there's gonna be delays.
Yes, yes. Yeah, whatever they say a date,
So,
it's like add 60 or 90 days onto that if you're building a brand new
yeah,
building. So, yeah. Yep.
and And so, I had initially planned to be open in March, and I took the week off my associate job to open up
Yep.
the practice, but then it ended up getting delayed. So I had this week off. And it was really perfect timing because the Nevada Diabetes Association was having their overnight camp in the Las Vegas area, so up in the mountains around Las
Yep.
Vegas. And so I got to take my team, which I told them we're starting this week, to up to the diabetes camp and show them where this donation's going, how it affects, kids, and really got to connect with the organization and see what we are supporting. So they got to see and talk to uh, counselors who've had diabetes their whole life, and see kids, and to see how their day to day is changed by diabetes. What I we did, we went up there, we did what something called diabetes
Yeah.
education. They do education every day at the overnight camp, and we did proper oral health care. So show them how to brush and floss properly, and then we also talked about how diabetes affects your overall health, and specifically your gums
Oh, yeah.
underneath your teeth, and how your gums can, if you're not well taken care of, can actually affect your diabetes. So if you have bad oral health,
Yep.
the inflammatory markers, go up. And if you have bad sugar control, your inflammatory is marked, and it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 kind
Yeah.
of information. It's a 1 + 1 = like 15.
Yeah.
Way more information than you would normally expect. So kind of educating on them, like if you can take good care of your teeth, you're going to reduce the amount of insulin you take. You're going to have less highs and lows and things like that. So it's just sharing them, like there's this one little thing that we can do to kind of also positively affect your diabetes, and it's from your teeth.
Wow. That's
The the team had
unbelievable.
a blast going out there and seeing what we're serving.
That
So
and folks, that is, everyone talks about like, how do I build a great team? Like, Gus, that's unbelievable. And that's part of the give. It's not just about like what you do as a doctor and the owner of the practice. It's also like, it is a culture builder, and people always want that great culture in the practice. Um, to be able to continue to bind that. And then, like you said, it's not then about the paycheck. It's about like, now your team is a part of this, connecting the community. Um, that so fulfilling. What are some of the things you've been open? Not quite a year. You're a couple more months. Been open about a year. Some things that you've done that from a ground marketing perspective, like people always want, like, okay, I open a practice. What has worked? In terms of like, and how do some of these elements tie into that, as far as your connections to the
yeah,
community,
so
for patients. So I'd be remiss to say, like, you can't. Here's the thing, guys, folks, you can't give what you don't have. So Dr. Gus has that ability to give because he does have patients coming through. So like, what things are working for you?
about how about getting like new patients? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah,
asking,
from a
or
new
like
patient
giving those
perspective, and
like
how do some of these elements
yeah.
even tie into that?
Yeah, so that's really good. So, I guess like it's some analogies. The more lines you cast, the more fish you're going to
That's
catch,
right.
right? So, the more lines you have open of, you know, ways for patients to find you, the more patients you're
Yep,
going to get. So, we have a ton of patients that were actually my campers when we were there 10 years ago. They were my campers, and now they're grown-ups, and now they're my
that's awesome.
patients. Counselors, and so auxiliary staff from the Nevada Diabetes Association are coming to see us. So that's just one line of new patients. So that's just part of the ground marketing is being tied to your
Yes.
community, and those lines will bring patients to you. Same thing with the reps and steps for a cause. Showing up to their signature events, those workouts that
Yep.
happen, once a quarter or so. You're going to meet a lot of new people there, and then you're going to be able to like, look, I'm tied into the community. We're supporting people. and they want to support people that are supporting people in their
Yeah.
community. So those people also show up to the practice and support people.
I love that.
And even like other older lines that you might not think of, like when you're younger, that open up, but they're still part of your community. So I was a big gaming guy when I
Yeah.
was younger. I even traveled to tournaments out of state. Thought I was kind of good. Turned out I wasn't. I was a big fish in a little pond. Um, but even those lines of being in those
Yeah.
communities, you get patience from those. Like my gaming friends are showing up. I think even, roughly equivalent to my community service patients, like my gaming patients are showing up as well, which is kind of crazy. I never thought that, being in the gaming community would bring me patience, but it has. And I think a lot of it has to do with the type of person you
Yes.
are. And that kind of is overall kind of going back to the macho man is it's being authentic, like
Yes.
being truly who you
Yeah.
are, um, at all times, and people are gonna really latch onto that. And especially if you're optimistic and you're positive, people are gonna see that, and then it's gonna, echo into bringing you new
I love
patients.
that.
And even the last one that I want to talk about is I didn't think this would really bring me new patients. Also, is when I was a manager for In-N-Out Burger, made a ton of friends that I'm still in contact with, and being tied into that community as well, still like, talking to all of
Love it.
them. Um, they are seeing my social media, which is in a way the new ground
Yes.
marketing,
I
that
know
kind of
you're
social
great
media
on
stuff.
social. Yes.
They see those things, and it's they're not cold outreach, but they're warm. They're warmed up by seeing your
Yep.
social media, and then when they have a problem, they're gonna think of you. So, um, just handing out your business cards and like out in the community is something I also do whenever I'm visiting other small businesses or I'm on the community. I always have my business cards on me. Um, and you'll see that on my social media. That's the next thing we're gonna do is promoting other small
Awesome.
businesses. Um, but we're handing out our cards in the community. But having that social media presence, I think, is the new ground marketing almost, because people are constantly seeing you, being warmed up to the idea that you're a dentist, and that if they have a problem, they come
Yep.
see you. And circling back to the authenticity, when they see that you're not faking who you are, they're like, "This is the Dr. Hernandez I knew 10 years ago. He's still the same goofy guy that he was back then. So I know he's a positive,
Yeah.
fun dude. I'm out as my dentist."
Yeah. Anybody's
Um,
got macho man in your office is, like there's no boring. There's nothing boring there,
yeah,
Gus. Yeah, whatsoever. Yeah,
yeah,
and for those that are listening, like the give is a part of the brand. Your give is a part of your brand, is a part of your message, is a part of your culture, of your practice. So what I never want anybody to leave with is like, is the give a gimmick to get patients through the door? No, like if folks, if you're using it for that, like that hurts your reputation. This is about truly being authentic to what you do, Gus, obviously, but for everyone's understanding, it's like, hey, are we trying to use this as a gimmick? No, 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 no. It just becomes a natural part of the message that people can see who you really are, truly who you are. And I think from a social media perspective, being true, it's not about perfect, right? There is no perfect post. This is not millimeters. Like crowns are in millimeters, teeth are in millimeters. Folks, ground marketing, the social media, what Dr. Gus and other clients have done, it's not about that perfect post. It's being your authentic self. And that's how people want to connect with you, within your community. So I love that being true. I think there's a message there, which is be true to who you are so that people know who that person is. I didn't know you were a gamer. That you
yeah,
that I had a Nintendo. Okay. So I mean that I didn't even have an N64. I mean, I did in college, but
yeah,
I had a regular NES. It's still at my mom's house. I would love to see if that thing still works. That is the extent of my gaming.
yeah. If we
Sorry.
if we ever got together, we could play some Super Smash Brothers Melee.
I don't even know what that
Um,
is. Oh my God. I don't even know what that even is. Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable. Oh man.
yeah,
Um, so, in addition to all these different things, um, you talked about, share the vision call, because you talked about that at the top of our discussion here.
yeah.
So for those who've gone through our program, we talk about that vision call. How important was that for you in like defining the last year or so since this whole journey's began?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the vision call. I mean, if I could go back in time, And I spent a lot of time like prep work for the
Oh yeah.
vision call with the Macho Man and talking about how I wanted my office to have a lot of like trees and art,
Yep.
there's a lot of greenery, and you can see that in our logo wall that I designed. Uh, but like the whole vision call process is designing, thinking about what you want your life to be, what you want your legacy to be, who you want to support, and how you want your life to be. Like all those things, it was so impactful being able to kind of design your life,
Yeah.
and then the practice afterwards. So I actually loved it. So like I wanted to be, um, the dad that now it's always home. I didn't miss school events. Um, and so when we designed my office hours, it's I'm off at 4 and I'm home, for dinner. I'm never gonna miss a dinner. And I'm gonna be, doing my activities. And then I don't take my work
Okay.
with me. Um, Part of the ideal practice is if you sign up for the masteries, you get a monthly call with other doctors
Yes.
that are, in the startup program. I think I've made it to one, and then I was all like, this like really interfered with bedtime. So I told Jenny, I was like, I'm never doing this again, unfortunately. Can you maybe record the videos for me? And then you guys definitely stepped up and started recording just because I asked you guys to. So I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that you guys. That's something new that you
Yep.
guys, didn't have before, and then you did it just for me. Well, maybe not just for me, but because I asked. So I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that. But yeah, I designed my life, my practice to support my life when I wanted to be the best dad that I could, and that's being home when after four
Yep.
o'clock. So I'm not on the afternoon calls. I don't do CE dinners for education. Like when I'm doing CE, it's the go away CE, so I don't have to
Yep.
you know, interfere with my kids' nightly schedule or anything like that. And my CE is planned way in advance so that my wife knows like what's
Love
coming
it.
up. So, but yeah, designing your life and then the impact you wanted to have, and all that is stems from thinking about what's important to you, and we deep dive into that in the vision call. So it's so important, and so it's the foundation that you build everything
Yep.
on. So it's so important.
Would you say you have a lifestyle
So,
practice? Would you say you have a lifestyle practice that aligns with your vision now?
yes, absolutely. I pay a little bit more in fees and automated stuff and things like that, and you can choose to do it more affordably. Um, but I designed a lot of this the auxiliary support. I pay for subscriptions and things like that you don't have to, so that I can just turn my brain off at 4 o'clock and not have to worry about anything else. And then my team or my auxiliaries will take care of that. So yeah, definitely, I designed this my life and then built the practices to support how I
I love
wanted it.
that. I think a lot of times, I think that's a great message is that I think a lot of doctors, when they approach like even things from a life perspective, it's like even simple things like, where do you want to live? If people are like moving and things like that, a lot of times it's funny to cut. You'd be surprised the conversations I've had in 20 years. It's like, tell me a great place to open my practice and I'll figure out life. And I always go, don't start that way because you may end up in
Yeah,
an area where it's like, wow, I like my patients, but I hate my life.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Here's a small little advice for all the new practice owners. Like, I know they talk about like, do you want to run into your dentist or them while you're in your pajamas? Like, that's one thing. But like, there's a direct correlation for how far you have to drive to work with how satisfied you are
There
with
you go.
life. And the longer the drive, the less satisfied you are. So if you're driving an hour each way, then that's an hour away each way away from your kids or your family. So if you don't have kids, maybe you don't have
Yeah.
to worry about it. But I am a family man, and so I wanted as short as drive time as I could, and my drive to work is 4 minutes. So
You
so
are
that
we call that the pajama dentist. Do you remember we talked about that? Yeah, that is you
yeah,
are a pajama
yeah.
dentist. And for those, it's not a
And then
right or wrong answer. It's
yeah,
what aligns with
yeah,
life. Yeah, driving an hour,
yeah,
folks, that's an hour
yeah,
each way. That's 2 hours. Add that up over time, like
yeah.
you're missing family, kids.
Yeah, yeah, and then also why we chose Henderson is, um, Aubrey's parents are here and my family's here. My parents are here and my
Yep.
sisters are here, and so, I said I'm a family person. I love my family, and so I get to see the grandparents, every weekend if
Yep.
we want to hang out with them. So, choosing the city that we grew up in with all our relatives was like super important and part of like the idea of where we wanted to
I
develop the
love it.
practice.
I love it. Couple more things as we start to close out here. What are you most proud of over the last year? What are some accomplishments like inside of your practice? And you don't have to share numbers or things like that, but like, what's a couple big things that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of, people know that when you start a startup, you're not gonna make money for a while. Some people make a ton of money right after that. Some people it
Yeah,
takes a while for the practice to start and to make money. That's just part of startup
it
life.
is.
But even like in the face of that, like knowing like, hey, I made a promise that I'm gonna be donating to these charities, and then fulfilling that promise was super, impactful to me. Like, and writing, $500 checks to, our nonprofits, every couple months just because of the new patient flow. I really, it's really impactful. I really like, fulfilling on that promise that I made 15 years ago, showing up wherever I could, like, and helping out this organization. It's very fulfilling, and I feel like it really completes the circle of of that promise that I made. And so I'm really happy about that. Um, I'm really proud of my team actually, of them stepping up, and showing me what they can be made of.
Love that.
No one I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world. No one has 2 teammates that follow them from other practices
Right?
usually, and so both my teammates followed me from other practices. Like, I haven't they weren't with me when I started the startup, they were at their own practices, so they weren't at my
Okay.
associate job, but they were people I've met along the way, and they told me, "If you ever open up your startup practice, we're gonna follow you. We're gonna find you. We're gonna find you."
Love that.
And have them, come in and say like, "You're the doctor that we want to grow old with." That like is one of my when I hearing that was one of the most impactful things I've heard, that they really truly support us and buy into the culture of what we're doing, and really believing in me. So that one. And then the last thing is like really fulfilling that promise to myself that I was gonna be um, uh, the best dad that I could be, and seeing that like, I am I designed this practice in such an efficient way and good way that I'm able to step out and leave the work and then know that everything's taken care of, and then I get to enjoy my time with my kids and family. Um,
Love that.
like fulfilling that promise, those, promises, has been super impactful for me. And I just really, I couldn't have, I don't designed in my vision call a better life. And so, I'm super happy and proud of what we were able to build,
Love that.
and now how we can continue to impact other people, and their lives. And so I'm just, super grateful that of everything that's happened and being a part of Ideal Practices.
Oh
So.
gosh, that folks, if that's not what practice ownership is about, I don't know what is. Like to have that balance and what you've been able to do and to build a successful practice, but do it in a way that's impact over everything else in what you do is just listen, I've done 1,000 of these. Love that story. That connects so well. And I think for those that are listening, it's like you can have that balance. You can have a startup. You can have life. You can have family. You can blend all those different things together. Um, Keep them separate, but again, you can have that balance between it, and that's a great message. What As my last question for you, what would you tell dentists? What would you tell associates today after looking back on your journey of becoming a practice owner? What would you tell people that are thinking about this path?
I would say start the path right now. You're never going to be ready to do it. And get the book, get the
Oh,
email Steven, get the book. I have my
thank you
book.
for the plug. Here you go, the Startup Dentist book.
I still have mine. I keep it right next to my desk. Also, I have, you know, all that in there. I keep that book with me. But buy the book. Something in that book that really stuck with me for a long time is, you're never gonna be ready. It's like jumping out of an airplane. And you have to make the decision to jump. And once you do jump, there's nothing you can do except for, go forward with it because you're already out of the plane. So really just, just start because, um, you're going to look back in, 1 year, 2 years, and you'll be like, I was ready, more ready than I knew. And I could have done this, 2, 3 years, 5 years, earlier. And, just, believe in yourself. Once you're able to, um, I would say, make sure you're good at doing crowds and fillings, and that none of the technical work is gonna hold you up because, part of that is, and learn to do that stuff really well, because you want what's best for your patients. And so when you tell them, like, "I wanna do what's best for you," if you don't believe that your work is the best, for them, then you're not gonna be able to, like I said, that authentic thing. So get really good at the technical stuff, take CE, get really good at that stuff, but start your thinking, your planning, and just, read the book and just, start. And this wasn't, I didn't think about this, doing a plug like that, but it just, it's kind of came out
Right.
like, just, jump out of that airplane
Yeah.
and start that pretty probably. If you're thinking about it, just
Yeah.
start.
It takes
Like,
it takes
you've
18
got
months nowadays. I mean, so think about for those who are listening, it's like, where do you want to be in 18 months? And there's
Yeah,
never a
and
perfect time. There's never, people have heard me talk about this. Like, people are probably listening, like, Steven, we've heard this 100 times. There's never that moment you wake up one morning and go, today is the day.
yeah, if you would have told me like 3 years ago if we would be in a terrible economic situation, I might have like not decided to do the startup. But you never know what's going to happen, right? You never know when eggs are going to be out through the roof or the gas is through the
Yeah.
roof right now. It's 2026 right now.
A global
You never know
a
when
global pandemic that we had 6 years ago. Like,
global pandemic or a financial crisis like 2008. You never know when those things are going to come. So don't ever worry about the bigger picture. Just worry about your own self, your own local self. Become the best person, your best version of yourself, which is authentic to who
Yep.
you are, and just jump out of the airplane, and you'll find your way down.
I love it. We'll give you a parachute. Oh man. All right. Okay. A few takeaways. So for everybody's listening, here's a few things of Dr. Gus's journey that every aspiring owner should hear. Number one, I'll start off with that. You don't become ready by waiting. You become ready by stepping in and growing through it and taking the leap, because we can't time out anything. I'd say number two is, for you, ownership is personal. And if a practice doesn't reflect your values, I would say it feels empty, no matter how successful that it looks.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the burnout too that people are experiencing when you're tied into the practice like we are. You're not going to feel you love coming to work because you're going to be serving a greater
I
purpose.
love that. And number three, I'll go with next is community matters. The strongest practices aren't just built on marketing tactics alone. They're built on relationships. You guys have had the relationships. Those are some of the strongest ones I've ever heard. And it wasn't just because you had community ties for years. It's like you're deliberate with it. You're focused on it, right? Like daily, like you're focused on those relationships. You talked about the businesses. And what I love is the pearl that I don't think people picked on this, but I'm going to highlight something that you said as a pearl. When you talked about like handing out your business cards, you talked about also how you talk about in your social media highlighting those businesses. I think too many doctors think about like, I'm handing out a business card to get patients. You were handing out to say, how can I help your business? That's a much different proposition, folks. That's what this is about. How can you support other businesses? It's not about, I'm sure Gus, you're getting patients from it. There's a byproduct, but you went in with, how can I help you? You got the return was bigger than what you expected, I'm guessing, right? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I would say the other one is impact. Income comes, but impact is greater than income. I think ironically, if you focus on impact, the business side tends to follow. Would you say that's been true in your environment?
Yeah, 100%. Just be, like I said, be authentic, be who you are. And I think if you're always, being truthful to who you are and doing your best and working hard every day, I think no matter what you do, you'll be successful.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Okay, folks, if you're listening today and thinking about ownership, ask yourself these three questions. Number one, what kind of impact do I want to make? Number two, who do I want to serve? And number three, and what am I waiting for? Because at the end of the day, the path to ownership isn't about being fearless. It's about being purpose driven. And listening to Dr. Gus jump out of the plane, because if he can do it, you all can do it, and you can have that balance.
yeah, I'm not special. If I can do it, I think anybody can do it. So
I love it. Hey, Dr. Gus, thank you for sharing so much of this. Thank you for sharing Macho Man in your practice. That just made my day. So, thanks everybody for tuning in to today's episodes. If this story resonated with you, share it with another doctor who's on the fence about ownership. And remember, your practice can be more than just a business. It could be a platform to make a true difference. If you want to get a copy of my book, and thank you, Gus, for plugging it, go to the startupdentistbook.com. You can also find us at idealpractices.com. Dr. Gus, hey, thank you for sharing so much of your time here today. I know you have patients to see, and thank you for taking the time out.
Yeah.
For everybody else, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Startup Dentist Podcast. I'll see you there.
Welcome to the Startup Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Trutter. After over 800 plus successful dental startups, I'm here to share everything I know about starting a profitable and purposeful dental practice with you.